A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Random House Audio presents Star Wars, The New Jedi Order, The Final Prophecy by Greg Keyes. Read for you by Jonathan Davis. She was being followed. She paused and wiped a damp wisp of yellow hair from her forehead, touching the scars that marked her as a member of Domain Quad. They must have followed her to Dagobah. How? She twisted her way through a maze of gnarl trees, and then clambered quickly and silently up their cable-like roots. She reached out with the Force to better assess her pursuit. They weren't there, and she suddenly realized that she hadn't felt them in the Force, but with her Vong sense. It had come so naturally, she hadn't even questioned it. That could only mean her pursuers were Yuuzhan Vong, maybe 6 of them, give or take 1 or 2. Vong sense wasn't as precise as the Force. She reached for her lightsaber, but didn't unclip it, and continued to wait. Soon, she actually heard them. A dark shadow glided soundlessly through the undergrowth, and she snapped her gaze up in time to see something very large blot the fragments of sky not occluded by the distant canopy. Native life, or a Yuuzhan Vong flyer? Pursing her lips, she waited. Soon the distant muttering became coherent. As she'd thought, the language was that of her creche.
"Are you certain she came this way?"
a raspy voice asked.
"She did. See, the impression in the moss." "She is Jedi. Perhaps she left these signs to confuse us."
"Perhaps."
"And you think she is near?"
"Yes."
"And knows we are following her?"
"Yes."
"Then why not simply call out to her?"
And hope I answer the battle challenge? Tahiri thought grimly. So they did have a tracker with them. Moving very slowly, Tahiri shifted in the direction of the voices. She could make out several figures through the understory, but not distinctly.
"Jedi!"
the tracker called.
"I think you can hear us. We humbly request an audience."
She leaned out for a better view and found herself staring straight into the yellow eyes of a Yuuzhan Vong. He was perhaps 6 meters away. She gasped at the sight of him, and revulsion jolted through her. His face was like an open wound. A shamed one, despised by the gods. He dared. Her hand went to her lightsaber. Then the shadow was back, and suddenly something sleeted through the branches, shredding the leaves and vines around her. Above her, through the now open canopy, she saw a Yuuzhan Vong Sikvai, an atmospheric flyer, huge and ray-shaped, and from it snaked long cables. To each cable clung a Yuuzhan Vong warrior. A terrible wail went up from her pursuers. She could see them now, all horribly disfigured, all shamed ones. They raised their short clubs and faced the warriors. They didn't have a chance. She saw that immediately. For an instant, the tracker held her eye, and she thought he would give her away. But instead, his expression went grim.
"Run!"
he shouted.
"We cannot win here!"
Tahiri hesitated only an instant longer, then made a series of step-like leaps to the ground. The first of the shamed ones had already fallen when her feet touched the spongy soil. A warrior caught her motion from the corner of his eye and turned to meet her, snarling a war cry. His face transfigured in surprise when she answered it in his own language. He whirled his amphi-staff toward her, a lateral strike aimed at her scapula. She caught the blade and cut toward his knuckles, but he parried with distance, pulled his weapon free of the bind, and lunged deep with the venomous tip. She caught it in a high sweep and stepped in, cut to his shoulder, where the Von Dune crab armor shed its fury in a shower of sparks, then dodged past, reversing the weapon and plunging its fiery point into the vulnerable spot in the armpit. The warrior gasped and sank to his knees, and she whipped the weapon around to decapitate him, even as she launched herself at the next foe. Combat was a blur after that. 8 warriors had dropped from the flyer. Parry, thrust, and cut became her entire existence. Spattered with Yuuzhan Vong blood and bleeding from several cuts of her own, she suddenly found herself back to back with the tracker. He was all that remained of the 6 who had initially been following her, but there were still 3 warriors standing. The shamed one suddenly bolted forward so quickly he took the leader by surprise, bowling into him before he could raise his weapon. The other 2 turned to help, but Tahiri danced forward, feinting at the knee and then cutting high through the warrior's throat when he dropped his guard to parry. She exchanged a flurry of blows with the second, though it ended the same, with the warrior flopping lifeless to the ground. She turned to find the tracker impaling the leader with his own amphistaff. For a moment, they stared at each other, the shamed one and she. Then the Yuuzhan Vong suddenly dropped to his knees.
I prayed it was you.
Tahiri saw he was clutching his side, and that blood covered his flank. "Let me see that," she said. He shook his head.
I must speak to you first.
"What are you doing here? Did you follow me?" His eyes widened.
No!
He said, so vehemently that blood sputtered from between his lips. Then, more quietly,
No. We thieved a ship from an intendant and came here to find the world of prophecy. We saw you land. Is this the place one who was shaped? Is this the world the prophet saw?
"I'm sorry," Tahiri said. "I don't know what you mean. This is Dagobah." The tracker straightened a bit, and his voice strengthened.
I am Hulkat, once a hunter. Or I was, until the gods seemed to reject me. I was stripped of my title, my clan. I was shamed. My implants festered and my scars opened like wounds. I gave up hope and waited for dishonorable death. But then I heard the word of the prophet and of the Jedi Anakin.
"Anakin," Tahiri whispered.
Yes, and you, whom Mijan Quad shaped, and Vua Rapung who fought. You were there, were you not?
"I was there."
Then you know our redemption belongs with you. And now the prophet has seen a world where there are no shamed ones, because it will redeem us, where the true way can be.
He coughed violently and slumped again, and for an instant Tahiri thought he was already dead. But then his eyes turned toward her.
My companions and I wanted to find a planet for our prophet. One of us, Koko, had been a shaper. He used a genetic slicer to get access to an executor's Kosa and steal its secrets. He found intelligence gathered about the Jedi, and evidence that there was some connection between you and this world. Some of your greatest came here, yes, and now you. And so please, tell me, have I found it?
Tahiri reached out and took his hand. "Yes," she lied, not even knowing exactly what lie she was telling. "You found it. Don't worry about anything now." His eyes filled with tears.
You must help me, he said. I cannot take the news myself. The prophet must know where this world is.
"I will do it," Tahiri said. This time, she was not lying. A distorted grin sliced Anami's crooked head in a sign of mock regard.
"Sweet Nen Yim," he croaked. "How delightful your presence. Have you come on some errand, Anami, or merely to waste my time in foolish conversation?" "I bring a dainty," Anami said. A glistering pustule from the gods.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?